Welcome to the KZoom Borderline Too Much Fun podcast. And we are going to be talking about the science of influence. So the cross section of psychology and marketing. So I chose this topic because I am a psychology nerd, and I love how that overlaps with marketing because marketing is about understanding people and why they do what they do, and understanding that helps you have more success in marketing. So that cross-section is actually really important.
So you're saying that marketing and psychology are deeply related.
I mean, marketing is using like psychology and like cognitive biases and things to influence people. So like influence your customers, your clients, that in turn influences your sales and your success.
Exactly. Okay, speak to me a little bit about these biases. You were telling me a little bit before we started. I'm not aware of these biases, but maybe I am, and I just didn't know what they were called. So talk to me about biases.
There's patterns and trends, because as much as, you know, as that we want to think that we're unique, we typically as humanity have some patterns that we typically follow.
I would say that, yeah.
And our thinking. And so one of the first ones I definitely want to bring up is the first impression bias.
Okay. I think I could probably guess what this is.
Yeah.
But explain it to me.
Yeah. So like a customer's first impression of a brand or business is going to highly influence all future interactions and their relationship with that brand and business.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. Like if a brand is just very attractive or something that aligns with what I'm, all about, then first impression, it's like, oh yeah, I like that.
Stanford did a research on 75% of people judge their credibility of just their website design alone.
Ooh.
And so there's also research on people's first impression is formed within just a few seconds. So this is speaking to like how important what we do is for businesses and products and customers to see something and on first impression, engage with it in a way where they're like, this is credible, I trust it, and my opinion is positive.
That's 3/4 of people are just judging on websites?
On website design. Website design alone.
So you could have a functional website, but your design is crappy and people still just, you're out.
It will affect their first impression of you.
So, wow. Okay. Good thing I don't need to update my personal website because it's pretty bad. I use Lobster Font, if anybody knows what that is.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do.
It's a good one.
You do. It's a classic. Can't go wrong with Lobster Font.
Not proud of it, but also not ashamed of it. So what I'm gathering is that very much like a first impression in real life, you want to make a good first impression in your marketing. So when you're going through that, do you have some things that maybe you should focus on first? Just like haircut, clothes in real life matter for first impressions. Good handshake. For a solid handshake, what I'm talking about.
Handshake is everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you get the handshake right, you're good.
Yeah.
So what's the equivalent of a firm handshake in the digital space?
Right. Have you ever heard that? Like you like look at the other person's like in between and like that's how you like really execute a good handshake?
I'm teaching my 2-year-old son how to do a handshake, and it's really funny. He just likes the fact that I like shake his arm.
Yeah.
But he's good at it. And he goes up to someone and he goes, "Nice to meet you."
Yes.
Yeah, and then he doesn't really understand the concept of it. He just wants someone to shake his arm.
So definitely evaluating all like first touch points. So the website is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that the design looks professional, modern, it doesn't look dated. There's eye-catching things to the website. We've done a few, like we did one recently for a counseling center, and like the first video is, who needs counseling? Because that's exactly what that person is looking for the second they're on that website. And using SEO keywords, and so tucking those words into The website and the content, that's essential. And, making sure that it's presented in a way that's easy and simple and not like confusing or having too many options, because decision fatigue is a real thing. So we don't want to overwhelm people the second they're on the website too. So, okay. So the second cognitive bias that we were going to talk about today is exposure bias. So this is the more often a customer sees or is exposed to a product or company or business, the more familiar they are, and that familiarity grows likability and trust just by the frequency of exposure.
Is there such thing as overexposure bias? Because I feel that for so many brands.
Yes, there is like optimal exposure.
I dislike State Farm because they spend so much.
They
Even
overdo
though I
it.
use them,
Yes.
I don't like how much they advertise to me.
That's fair. That's fair. There is like a underexposure
Yeah.
to like optimal to like, whoa, baby, we overdid it,
State Farm.
Love you, State Farm.
Your services, not your advertising.
where I do my car insurance. So
Oh, me too.
Thanks
me
for
too.
that.
Like, I like your services. Just
so it worked,
slow it down. Pump the brakes.
but now
man.
you got us. So stop trying to get
Pump
us.
the brakes. Exposing your customers to your brand. I'm trying to think of like good examples of this.
Well, within a reasonable amount, right?
Yes.
Definitely overexposure. So, being on cross platforms, having a clear message across different platforms, but kind of associated with this bias is the rule of 7. So it takes potential customers to see your brand and your messaging like 7 times before they're going to actually purchase or have brand recognition.
Okay. Yeah.
So there is a degree of getting a company out there enough so that people are recognizing the brand, where more exposure is probably better.
Yeah. I do think it works really well with businesses that you don't use often, specifically like a trade, like a plumber or electrician, or like, a roofer or someone that you don't use regularly, because when that thing happens and you need the service, the more exposure to that service that you've gotten, even though you're not using them, the more likely you're like, oh yeah, I know of that company.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that company.
Yeah.
So like I can definitely see that being a thing, because
Yeah. Well, that overlaps to another bias of frequency. So the likelihood of you, when you have that need, thinking of a particular company for that need, the frequency effect would say that it's probably the most recent advertisement you've seen for that particular need. So if it's roofing companies, I know you guys had a tree fall on your house, like the most recent ad that you've seen for roofers is most likely going to be the one that you go for. So being, exposed on multiple layers and having that frequency there is only going to double-fold your, effectiveness there.
All right. That makes sense.
The third bias we're going to talk about today is the bandwagon bias.
Okay.
Yes,
I
yes.
kind of think I know what this one is, but let's dive into it.
Yeah, well, I like to call it the FOMO bias. So it's that people are more likely to follow a majority opinion. So if they see other people doing it or having it, they are more likely to participate in that. The research shows that 75% of consumers are more likely to purchase a product if there's like perceived popularity around it and like a majority opinion around a product or
That's a lot.
a brand.
That's a lot. That's something that's not really tangible, like a metric that's hard to measure.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, do people like your stuff? And is there like I hate to use the word clout, like does your product
Right.
or service have clout?
Yeah. It's like high school, like perceived popularity.
Yeah.
what made Popular Kids popular? Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah, you just I don't know.
It just hit.
It just was.
Yes.
So yeah, no, that's an interesting stat. So how do you, I guess practically, how do we use that stat?
We try to create FOMO.
Yeah.
And this is through social proof. Social proof is kind of the big idea attached to this bias. So having testimonials from real customers and people talking about it and using it. And
so does this bandwagon bias really only apply to products? Because in my head, that's the easiest way to think about it, is like someone has this stuff, more people get the stuff, more people see that you have this stuff, so you want to buy the stuff. Does this apply to services as well?
we can easily think of lots of products that are product that we're like, oh yeah, that product is super popular. We see everybody with a Stanley Cup, right? But no, this is also for services as well. So if you think of like financial institution, and you're looking for like retirement information and looking for someone to help you with your retirement or selling your business, going to their website and seeing that real clients have had great experience working with this company for your need is going to highly sway you towards that company versus another company that maybe gives a lot of stats but doesn't give that
A personal touch.
bandwagon feel like other people have gone before me and super succeeded with you and had success with you, and that's on the table with you.
Yeah.
So it connects back to like kind of the first one too, of like how important that website is. Like having those client testimonials
The first impression.
easily found, you're going to immediately start triggering that first impression of, wow, they're professional. Wow, look at, they have a lot of clout and other people have had success with them. And it's just going to grow this relationship with a brand or a business that is going to be positive. They're going to be considered likable, and that relationship then will be able to grow from there and be more resilient from there because all of this trust was built kind of from the start.
Wow, yeah. So
Wow, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Owen Wilson. Thanks for talking to us about all these biases. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys learned some stuff. I did. I didn't know about all these biases, but now I do.
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
I just tossed it over to you.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm happy to be here and chat about these things, and hopefully you guys know more now too.
All right. Thanks for listening to the K-Zoom Borderline Too Much Fun podcast. We will see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.